guys, so in this video we're just going to look at a basic oil change in the motor and in the pump. Okay, so this is a brand new engine and pump. It's done 50 hours, so now it's due for its first oil change. So we're just going to do a real quick oil change of the motor and of the pump. So just to cover off why we're doing this on a brand new machine. There's a wear-in period on new machinery, and you might get some metal filings or some dirt that was in the engine or in the pump from the manufacturing process. And so once it's run up over 50 hours, which is a week, then you want to give it a good oil change so that you can get any of that contaminants out and it's not in there for months on end. So just to cover off the oil change frequency. So Honda recommend that you change the oil in this machine every 30 hours. So that basically means that they need you to do an oil change on it once a week, okay? That's not really feasible. That's their requirement, covered under warranty. And so that's what they ask you to do. What we do is we do an oil change on it once every quarter, so once every 3 months. With the pump, so this is the interpump ws202. With this one here, you've got to do it after the first 50 hours, so the break-in period, first 50 hours, and then every 500 hours after that, okay? So what you want to do is, again, we do this about every quarter. So I'm just going to cover off a real quick oil change. We're going to take the oil out of the motor, and we're going to take the oil out of the pump, and we're going to replace it with new oil. So the oil you can purchase on the portal, it's the same oil that goes in both of them. You can use a slightly heavier oil in the pump because it's older technology. A lot of new oils, new modern oils for modern cars and stuff like that are a little bit light. So a diesel oil sometimes can be good in the pump. It's a little bit heavier. What you want to be looking for as well when you do the oil change, especially in the pump, is you want to be looking for any milky substance or froth. And that will tell you that there's water actually getting into the pump. So the pump has got two sides to it. In the head, which is this brass part here, this nickel part, sorry, that's the water side, and then this is the machinery side. This is the oil side. Okay. So real quick, the Honda motor takes 1.1 liters, which we've got here. You can buy that in the portal. It's exactly 1.1 liters. I've got my jug for filling it up. That's a 600 ml jug, so 2 of them in there. And then we've got my 1 liter of oil, which goes into the pump. So there are a couple of different ways that you can drain the oil out of these machinery. Okay, so there's the old-fashioned way. They've got a drain plug. So down here, if you take a look in here, this is the drain plug for the motor. Unfortunately, on these particular stands, it's very hard to actually get in there and drain it out. So I use this pump. Some people have the bigger stands, and they are designed for draining the oil out of the motor, but with these particular stands, they're not. So I'm going to use this suction pump to suck it out. You'll see me doing that now in a second. And we're just going to suck the oil out, and then we're just going to put the new one in. So real simple, real quick oil change. There is another video where I go through a full service. That includes the oil filter, the air filter, the spark plug, and any other little things that you need to check on the machine while you're doing it, while you're doing the service. So we take out my suction pump hose. We connect that up. Okay. We're going to open up the dipstick here. So that's the fill port, dipstick port. So when I'm shoving this in, what I'm doing is I'm actually aiming it towards the on-off switch. So when you're shoving it in, it should go in about a foot, which is a long way, but you need to just wiggle it around and shove it all the way in. Okay, and then I give this a pump. Couple of pumps, and you can see it's starting to suck the oil out there. So that will stay sucking the oil out there. Okay. While that's sucking the oil out, I'm just going to fill up my little jug. So this is a 600 ml. So I'm going to put 600 mils in first of all. there's my first 600 mils. Now, you want to wiggle this around a little bit in here, just to make sure you get all the oil out of it. There we go, there's another bit. So we'll let that fill up there. So even though I'm doing this on a new machine, you know, this is the break-in period oil change. It's the same process for a standard oil change, and you'll see in the service video where I service the complete machine, I just changed the oil the same way. So I want to make sure I'm getting all of the oil out. I should note, it's easier to do this when the oil is actually warm. So if you warm up the machine first of all, the oil does come out a lot easier. Okay, so I think that is most of it. Okay, so that's most of it out there now. So I'm just going to take my jug, put the spout in, and then I'm just going to fill it up with the oil. So I'm just going to throw all 600 mil in there. It does take a little bit of time to go in. So just while that's filling up, I will note, when you're filling up the pump, okay, so we know that it takes roughly about a litre of oil. There is a little glass sight at the back, and so the oil level needs to come up halfway up on that glass sight. So when you're filling up the pump, halfway on the little glass sight on the back, the oil needs to be up halfway across that. There is also a drain plug on the back of the pump as well, and that will let you drain the oil out the old-fashioned way. That works on this stand or the other stand, so you can drain it out. You don't need to have the suction pump for the oil for that. Okay, so it's nearly all in now. We still have another 500 mils to go because the engine takes 1.1 litres of oil. We want to make sure that we get every last little bit in, because it is only 1.1 litres that goes into it. We've got to make sure that we've got all of that in it. If there's not enough oil in the machine actually won't start, or it'll start and cut out, because it's got a low oil sensor in it. They're designed to cut out if the oil level gets too low. So what can happen sometimes, if you're parked on an angle or the machine is on an angle for whatever reason, and the oil is low, it can trigger that off switch, that low pressure, low oil switch. So what happens is the machine will start and then cut out. So that's the first 600 mils. So now we'll put in the next 500, and like I said, it's exactly the right amount in there. So we'll throw all that in. And so that's another 500 mils exactly. Oh, we'll just shut the lid on it. So I should note, it is important to do oil changes as regularly as you can on the machines. You know, the oil is not that expensive. you'll see from this video, we will get it all done in about 10 minutes. It should be noted that we have had brand new motors fail within 6 months because they haven't had their first oil change, the break-in oil change. So that has happened in the past. So it is important that you change the oil on the machine after that first week of it running, 30 hours, 40 hours. Yeah. Nearly there now. So you can see, it is a real quick job if you've got the right tools. Definitely the vacuum pump makes it a lot easier and makes it a lot less mess free. That's the oil change there now. That's the last little bit going into the motor, and as you can see, no spillage, no mess, and also that container holds 6 liters of oil, so it means you can do 6 changes of oil before you have to actually empty it out, so you can store the waste oil in there as well. So there we go. So if you come over here and take a look in the little dipstick, you can see the oil is right up to the very top of it. So it's literally about to just come out the top of it, and that's where it needs to be. So it needs to be just that is absolutely full. You cannot fit any more in there, and that's the way it needs to be. So we'll pop that back on. So that's the oil done in the motor, so you can see real quick. So then we'll move on to the pump. So we've got the little dipstick here on the top. This is for checking obviously your oil. Like I said, you want to make sure that you have no milkiness or froth in there. So we're just going to pop our vacuum hose in there again, and we're going to pump this one out. So you can see that's pumping out there. This oil is slightly thicker, or it can be slightly thicker. You can use the same oil that goes in the motor. You can use the same one in the pump, but I do recommend that you use a slightly thicker oil in the pump. Again, you can buy all this stuff on the portal, and this one is going to take a little bit longer to drain out because it's just, you've got to, unlike the motor where you've got a sump and all the oil is in the sump, in this all the oil is sitting in the back of the pump, so you're going to have to play around with that a little bit. So what we'll do while we're waiting is we will just pour the oil into the jug. Bit of a struggle to get that off. Yep, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this around. Pour this in. So I'm just going to move the hose around a little bit in the pump to just get as much of that oil out as I can. Okay, and that is that. And then we're just going to quickly pour this oil in. Just pop the cap on the jug first. the jug does make it a slow process. If you had a funnel or something like that, it might go a little bit quicker. But I like this jug because it's got the exact measurements on it of how much oil we need to put into it, and the spout fits into the engine perfectly. Again, I'm going to try and have this stuff on the portal so that you can just purchase it off the portal, and then once you have it, you have it. First 600 mil. Let me just pop the rest in here. That must have been a bit more than 600 mil in the last one. Pop the lid on again. Check the sight glass. You can see it's starting to fill up there. It's almost at the center, which is where we need it to be. Okay, so there we go. That is the oil changed in that, and if I just take a look at the sight glass, yeah, the oil is just below the center of the sight glass, so it's up just under halfway, which is exactly where we need it to be. So it's a litre of oil in there and 1.1 in the motor. And there you have it. I think that's taken about maybe 10-12 minutes altogether, and we've got the oil changed and it's ready to go again. Okie doke.